How's it going, guys? I'm Andrew,
I'm Tracy.
and this is Big Talk Small Room. Well, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little tired from walking a lot yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, we went to the Clemson game. It was supposed to rain all day, but guess what?
It was nice and hot.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. You wanted clouds, and
Yeah,
there was no clouds.
people was praying for rain, I believe, for a little while.
Well, whoever prayed for it not to rain, I need them to pray for me.
Yeah, for me to win the lottery.
Yeah. So today's show we have a guest.
We have Madeline Jackson with Jackson Cavaliers.
Hey guys, how are y'all today?
I'm good.
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Enjoying the nice AC.
Yep.
How did you get into breeding Cavaliers?
Well, you know, obviously I'm owner and operator of Jackson's Cavaliers. We've been officially in business, I'd say about 8 years. Um, as far as the breed itself and what drew me to the breed is just how versatile they are. They're normally between 15 and 20 pounds, really small, good for apartment living, great with families. We have 5 children, so lots of kids running around and need a dog that'll fit well into our lifestyle and environment. But as far as breeding, my family has a farm, and I've always been around animals and taken care of animals. So
So I hear all these names and labels that get thrown out: RPG, AKC, UNLV, whatever. All these dog. Can you explain the difference between the
yeah,
different?
so you're talking about registries, and the two major ones we'll go over. There's many like smaller registry groups, but the largest is American Kennel Club, which is AKC, and then you have Continental Kennel Club, which is CKC. Um, with a CKC registration, you could take a picture of any dog, pay a $50 application fee, and they will register the dog based on the breed that they believe it to be. With AKC, it is a bloodline registration, if you will. AKC has been around. I'm not sure. It's been around a pretty long time. And as far as my dogs, all of my dogs are AKC registered, and we do DNA analysis on all of our males to keep track of our puppies and to ensure that they are what we claim them to be. So, and the breed again that I focus on is the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. There is a King Charles Spaniel, which is different, more smush faced, but we have Cavaliers.
So they have a pug, pug's face
Yeah,
Cavalier
yeah,
breed.
kind of. They kind of turned up noses, if you will. They're a little bit smaller. Cavaliers are the largest breed in the toy group of dog. You have you have different divisions of dog. You have your large breeds and your sporting breeds and kinds like that. But
Mhm.
in the toy section, they are a spaniel, but they're the largest of the toy breeds.
Now, do you do any training with the puppies or?
Oh yeah. So we have about 4 breeding females right now. We have puppies different times throughout the year based on their heat cycles. This is a breed that goes into heat every 6 months. It's not like a Basenji where they go into heat once a year or anything like that. But when puppies are born, they're deaf and blind, and a lot of people don't know that. Their ears and their eyes are closed when they're born, and it takes about 12 days for them to open their eyes and their ear canals to fully open. gestation of a dog is only about 63 days. So, it's not a lot of time to cook. So they grow a lot in those first couple of weeks. But yeah, as far as, training, um, from the get-go, a big thing is just handling. So early neurological stimulation when you're holding the babies, you can hold them on their back, uh, taking a Q-tip and playing with the paw pads and getting them used to being touched and held is a big part of that early development. As they start crawling, about 3 weeks, that's when you're going to start introducing different textures and things in their environment, toys and such. Play is a huge part of learning for puppies. So as they're getting bigger and bigger, I'd say about 6 weeks is when they should be getting off of mom's milk. And at that time, it is a big burst from 6 to about 8, 9, let's say 10 weeks. From 6 to 10 weeks is your social development. So it's really important for them to be with their siblings, to understand that if they're biting somebody's ear and they scream or they yelp or that kind of thing, and they're playing too rough, they learn those social cues then. But during each stage, we're doing something different. One thing that I recommend to a lot of my clients is when you get your puppy and you're doing that playtime, play fireworks or rainstorms, thunderstorms in the background while you're having a good time, so that that puppy, as they turn into adult, have less anxiety during those events. Because the dogs get lost the most around 4th of July and New Year's because they're not used to fireworks, and heaven knows they're panicking thinking bombs are going off because it's not normal. So just early exposure is key with a lot of things.
Right. And that way you don't end up as one of the people who get on the internet going, quit shooting fireworks. You're scaring my
Oh
dog.
man. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a situation where, I'm sorry your dog is scared, but that is preventable. And I think it is on us as, owners of these animals to train them. And I tell my clients, when you're getting a puppy young and you have a unique opportunity to imprint upon this dog to have a good companion relationship, and it's your responsibility for the first year to put the time into that dog to make them a good companion throughout their life. um, but while we're on the subject too, I'll bring this up. um, Microchipping is a great thing to do. All of our puppies are microchipped before they go home, between 8 and 10 weeks of age. And I hold this up because we are with Fi. I don't know how well you can see that with the sun glare.
Yeah, we can
Um,
see it.
yeah, there we go. But all of our puppies come microchipped, and it already has prepaid lifetime registration. So if someone scans that puppy's microchip because he's been lost, God forbid, but it happens, then my customer's phone number, email address, um, physical address is on that chip, and I'm listed as well as the breeder if for some reason they can't get a hold of the owner.
Now, um, how many puppies do you typically have with this breed, a litter?
Yeah, so the average size is anywhere from 3 to 5. The largest litter I've ever had was 8, and I haven't had too many singleton litters, but there has been one occurrence where I had a singleton, but average is 3 to 5.
Okay. Wow.
And I actually have a litter of 5 right now. Um, that's, let's see, going, I believe they're 15 days old now. So if you'd like, I can grab you one.
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. All right. So, woo, we're in the sun a little bit. Maybe that'd be better.
Now, how many different colors do they have?
So this guy here is a black and tan, and trying to not get in the sunlight, obviously because he's black and tan. There's four colors, but in this litter we had tricolor, which obviously you see the black and white and a little bit of brown on the eyebrows. Sometimes they get a little brown mustache as well. Um, and then the other colors are ruby and blenheim. Blenheim is a white with a red coloration. And interesting thing that I found out about that color too. I always wonder why do they call it Blenheim? And some people say, is it Blenheim? But it was actually named after like a French battle. The and it became associated with the breed. So I thought it was pretty cool. But
Oh yeah.
if you'll excuse me for 1 minute, I'm going to put them back on the nay, if you will, because they were getting ready to nurse.
Okay, no
So
problem. They had a little smushed up face.
yeah, and I hear you talking about the smushy face, but let me tell you, like if you look at the King Charles Spaniel, I mean there's no nose. But when you look at these guys as they mature and grow up a little more, they actually have a decent snout. I still guarantee that they will snore. Cavies snore. But I think it's worth it. They're definitely one of the most loving cuddle dogs. They were bred to be lap warmers. They were bred for royalty. They would sleep with the kings and queens and actually attract the fleas off of their owners.
What did they put on them to attract the fleas?
I
Did your
I don't
blood get
know.
sweeter?
I'm telling you what I've heard. But interesting about the breed as well, they really weren't that common a while ago, and they're still not extremely common today. But like in 1926, there was a man that put an ad out in like a British breeder magazine and said, hey, I want to bring back the spaniel of old that is shown here. And it was with King Charles II, I believe. He was known for having his spaniels follow him, and he took them everywhere he went. And if you ever look at some of the paintings of King Charles, you'll see different spaniel type dogs around him, and it's the Blenheim color. So in 1926, he put out an ad, of, I think in the time it was like it was equivalent to about $2,000 US, and in 1926 that was a lot of money to bring this breed back, and that's how we've got to the breed that we have today, because they nearly died out.
What would you say is one of the most asked questions, either about the breed or when someone's talking to you about getting a puppy? What would you say the most asked question would be?
So a question that I hear a lot of time is the male versus female question. Like, do I get a male female? Do I get a female puppy? Which do you recommend? And in my experience within this breed, the males are definitely the pick if you're looking for straight up companionship. Females love you, and they're definitely, in my opinion, the smarter of the two. But the males are in love with you, like Pepe Le Pew level in love with you. So that's the question that I hear a lot. They are a long hair breed. They do shed, and we don't call it hair. We call it cavi glitter. So I tell everybody when they get a Cavalier, just get the shirt that says it's not hair, it's Cavi glitter. There is some shedding involved. They are not hypoallergenic, but it's worth it. Like I said, the cuddling aspect is wonderful, and just
Keeping the
giving them a
fleas
good
off.
brush while they're sitting with you.
Yeah, keeping the fleas off. That ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Personal flea bag.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
with today,
A little bit
with
more sophisticated than that, but yes.
today with the shots and all the medications they give, heart guard and whatnot, you got flea medicine, so nothing's going to stay on a dog or cat long if you don't want it.
Yeah, and certain flea medications, it doesn't prevent the fleas from biting the dog, but if the flea bites the dog, then it becomes sterile or it dies. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing, while we were talking about the registries too, all of our pups go home with registration paperwork. And going back to that real quick, something else I feel like people should know, and I get asked about, if you're looking for a breeder and they say, okay, my breeding pair is AKC registered, the next step is that you get some paperwork that looks like this, and that is an AKC registration paper for your puppy, and it'll come with a unique identifier number, and it'll start with TS if it's a Cavalier, because TS stands for Toy Spaniel. So that's definitely something, if you're looking at purchasing a puppy, you need to get this paperwork from that breeder and register your puppy through AKC. And I do recommend this as well because it's like a double proof of ownership for your dog. Between the microchip and the AKC registration, it helps to prove that the dog is yours.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
Well, they're kind of expensive, so you don't want somebody grabbing it.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing too, I hear a lot of people that get a little bent out of shape knowing that I am a breeder, or that breeders in general are selling puppies, and the adopt, don't shop mentality. But the difference between purchasing a puppy over adopting a puppy, I've never got a call from a shelter that one of my puppies were in a shelter, because I take the time and pay for the microchipping for the lifetime of the dog. If you care about dogs in general, if you're passionate about a particular breed, it's important to do your microchipping. And that is one thing, a shout out that I would say to anyone that wants to become a breeder, is look into microchipping so that you can keep track of your dogs.
Yeah.
So
that doesn't look like a Cavalier on your lap. What's that?
No, this is Joy. This is our family dog. She is a rat terrier, and she is a employee of Jackson's Cavaliers. She's our only spayed girl in the house, and definitely helps with socializing puppies. Since she never has milk on her, obviously being spayed, she does a great job of playing with the puppies, socializing them, and they don't, attack her too much to try and get some milk off of her.
I was thinking about that little dog running around playing with the puppies.
Yeah.
That dog's pretty hyper, isn't it?
Yeah, she's got definitely a lot of energy, so she 100% can keep up with these young pups. And they definitely, puppies in general go through quite a piranha phase, and she's very well equipped to put up with it. That's another tip I'd like to give your viewers too. Whenever you're bringing home a puppy, do realize that there are life stages, and puppies are just like babies beginning out. They want to put everything in their mouth, and baby carrots are a great thing for any dog really to chew on. Frozen baby carrots are especially great when your puppy is teething. Just helps to give a little coolness to their gum because they do lose their teeth and they lose their baby teeth and they get in their adult teeth. So that's another tip for your viewers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are these dogs? I don't know how to ask the question. Do they have genetic problems or anything? The
Yes.
Cavaliers.
Yeah. So they, going back to what we were talking about with the history, the breed itself came back out of only a handful of Cavaliers. So their gene pool in general is not that diverse. So we do DNA analysis on all of our dogs to check their COI. COI is a coefficient of inbreeding. So it tells us how diverse those genes are in that particular animal. And then we compare the COI from our males, our sires, to our dams to see what a good combination would be. So I have DNA profiles on all of my dogs. And again, that's for the COI because a diverse gene pool makes for a healthier animal. But another thing that we definitely want to avoid is stringomyalgia. And that is just a neurological problem that can be found in this breed. Of course, they have, a common thing just because it's a smaller dog to watch out for is like luxating patellas, which is the kneecaps. Also, their hip joints and things of that nature. We take x-rays to make sure that we don't have any hip problems. Trying to think. Oh, the biggest one would be heart issues. These dogs really don't last that long. They only live to be about 12 years old. And heart issues are very prone within the breed. So having your regular checkups to monitor their hearts and making sure that their heart is not becoming enlarged is really important. But I do want to say, genetics only goes so far and then comes environment. So that's that nature versus nurture age old argument. And the biggest thing that I would say for anyone that wants to keep a healthy dog is to really keep up with their body condition scoring. And I believe we have a chart pulled up so that the viewers
Yeah.
can see as I explain this.
Okay.
But
Got it up.
yeah, so if you look in the middle, that is your ideal look for a dog, and they've got a overhead view and then a side view. But I always try to let my customers know how they can figure this out because with Cavaliers, they're a longer haired breed, so it's kind of hard to see the body shape through the fluff, if you will.
Right.
So taking your fingers and rubbing on either side of the dog's ribs, and what you're feeling for is a space in between the skin of the dog and the rib bones. If you can rub on those rib bones and you can immediately feel lots and lots of ribs and no real padding, that dog is definitely underweight and you need to increase food. And another thing too with body condition scoring, this is how your veterinarian can look at any dog, no matter what the breed, and know, hey, your dog's overweight, hey, your dog is underweight, is by giving a body condition score. So I really recommend to all of my customers that they get a body condition score in the chart from their veterinarian whenever they go, so that they know, okay, this puppy is now 6 months old and he's not developing maybe as fast as he was at 4 months old. Got a little bit more meat over the ribs. There's a little bit more space. Maybe we need to decrease the food a little bit. Never go by the cup size on your bag. Go by what your dog looks and feels like. And going back to the heart issues that cavies have, you really don't want them to look like a loaf of bread. they have a tendency as they get older to turn into a couch potato and just Netflix and chill a little too much.
Uh,
So
don't we
definitely,
all?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, myself included. Um, but keeping them healthy, because we as owners are in control of what our pet gets, and an overweight pet is not a happy or healthy pet. So
So when you have a customer that wants to buy a dog and they call you up and they say, "Hey, Madeline, I'd like to buy a dog." Um, I know that the price will keep some people away, but you still have people that's got money and they may not be a suitable owner.
yeah. So I have an interview process for my puppies, and a unique selection process as well, I would say, to try and match the best personality of the puppy to the family. Um, I my typical clientele is women between the ages of like 30 and 70, I would say. That's my highest demographic. Um, but in that range, you've got moms that have children, and then you've got retired elderly people that just want, a companion. So, first off, I get to know their situation a little bit, and why they're coming to me, whether it be that they've lost a Cavalier, or that a puppy has passed on. That's a lot of the story I get. And I have to tell you a unique story about a man that lost his dog and came to me in a minute. But I normally do a video or a phone interview, kind of like what we're doing now. Get to know them a little bit. I send all of my contract or paperwork information electronically through email for them to review before they ever come here and see the adults or the puppies. Just so it's upfront and you're not trying to make an important decision while looking at something extremely adorable. Um, so I find that works best. Um, but once I've you know gotten to know them, I never shy away from people that have never owned a dog or never raised a puppy. I do feel like this is one of the best breed for those people that want to get a dog for the first time in their adult life. Um, they're great for apartments. They're great for houses, renting. They're really versatile as long as they get time with their owner. So someone that works like a 12-hour day job, that is something that I would not recommend that they get a puppy unless they've got someone that can be with that puppy during the day. They really need that companionship. And I also don't recommend that people buy siblings, which is not something you'll hear from a lot of breeders, because uh, most people just want to get rid of the puppies and be done. But there is something called littermate syndrome that I think people don't talk about it enough, and it's definitely something that a buyer should look into before they purchase a pair of sibling puppies, because you're buying a dog most times for the companionship and the connection between owner and animal, and when you have a sibling situation, it is much harder to achieve that, and there's also some quirks that come into that. So that's definitely something you should look up if you're considering siblings. Um, but once I have a signed contract, I've had an interview, we do a reservation fee, and then the balance is due when the puppy is picked up, which again is between 8 and 10 weeks. And I update my customers weekly with what we're working on, whether that be ENS, early neurological stimulation. Sorry, that's a mouthful. Or whether it be crate training or potty, working on some potty training towards the end. Definitely let them know when we're starting to transition to hard food. Just give them a glimpse into things that they wouldn't see if they were adopting a dog or purchasing an adult dog. So
You was mentioning a story earlier
yeah,
about an owner. Can you tell
yeah.
us about that?
So I have to say, I could not do this business if it wasn't for my family, and then God definitely blessing this business. And it's funny you should mention the price of my puppies, because at one point, um, I was priced much lower, and I had a man that was, seemed to be a very wonderful person. He's an interior designer, lived at home alone, took care of his mother. And he called me and he cried for over an hour because he had lost his Cavalier of 14 years, that's a pretty long time for a Cavy. And I just listened to him and I was like, I'm so sorry. And I said, well, are you sure you're ready to get a puppy? Do you want to wait? And he was like, no, I appreciate talking with you. I'll just be on your waiting list until we find the right one. And I said, okay. And he came to visit and he picked out a male tricolor, which very similar to the one that I just showed you. Matter of fact, that would be his brother. Um, I've had the generations of Cavaliers that I have. I've had three generations within this one bloodline, so they've they've been with me for a while. Um, anyway, going back to the story, so the time came for him to pick up the puppy. He took him home, um, and then he called me about a week later, around 9:30 at night. And of course, I answered immediately because it was an odd time for him to call. And he said, I just cannot thank you enough for this puppy. And I cannot believe that he is so well mannered and trained and he hasn't pottied in my house. And like, why are you priced so low? And I said, well, I I was kind of at a loss for words because I was kind of preparing for something being wrong or that kind of thing. But anyway, long story short, he I ended up having to put him on mute because it's 9:30 at night and I'm trying to put my children to bed. And um I was talking to my son about whether or not he had finished his Bible assignment. And he said, oh, Mom, I know the memory verse. And I said, well, if you know the memory verse, where is it found? And he couldn't tell me where the Bible verse was found. And so I kind of scolded him a little bit and told him, hey, you better go study and I'll be off the phone in a minute. I thought that this man was on mute the whole time. Turns out he was not. And he overheard the conversation.
Well, it
And
happens to you. It
Yeah.
happens to
yeah,
all of
and
us.
and he was like, well, listen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you're busy with your kids and your son, but he said, now your son's learning Bible. Is your children in private school? And I said, yes, sir. That's why, I do the puppies, and it enables me to stay at home with my children. It gives them something to learn, and I can take care of them, and it also pays for their education. What's left helps with their education. And he said, that is amazing. And he said, I try and bless someone once a year in whatever way I can when God has blessed my business, and I'm going to send you a check because you're underpriced. And I was a little shocked and embarrassed that he was not on mute. And I said, okay, well, I really appreciate it. That's very kind of you. It's unnecessary, but I would appreciate it. And he said, well, no need to thank me. I'm gonna mail you a check, and I just want you to know how much you impacted my life and your children and meeting your family and how much you do for the puppies. It really does show. And I never heard from him again, except for, a week later, I got a check in the mail and it was for $3,500.
Wow.
So that is the most expensive puppy I have ever sold. um, and it blew the generosity of this man just blew my mind. And he really was just a huge blessing to my family because it paid off my children's tuition for that year. And um, that I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for God blessing the business. And um, shout out to him if he ever sees this video, because again, I sent him a thank you card, and I haven't really heard from him since, except for a picture of the little tri-male here and there.
How do you stay in touch with past puppy buyers, and do you offer any kind of help towards them,
Yeah,
or
so I do offer a lifetime support, but quick uh, text message or phone or email support on different subjects. Um, I do recommend, if someone needs training, that they use Baxter and Bella, and I am partnered with them, and their information is on my website at jacksonscavaliers.com. Um, Jax, Baxter and Bella is an online training portal that also offers tech support and training video sessions and things 24/7. But I keep in touch with my customers as much as I can. For me, uh, there's a lot of benefit in that, as far as I have some puppies that are now, 6 years old, and knowing the health of those animals or what issues may have arisen from that pairing definitely helps me to make better decisions in the future with my breeding stock, and knowing what their adult weight was and things like that. Because a lot of people think that when you buy the runt of a litter, that they're going to be the smallest, and that is not true. um, that's definitely one of those nature versus nurture things. I've had a runt of a litter end up being the largest adult weight out of that litter. um, but I do keep in touch with my customers for multiple reasons.
now, do you have any health guarantees for the puppies, or
Yes, yeah, I offer a like a 6 month and a 12-month health guarantee. um, you know I don't uh, it's not it's all set out in my contract, and my contract goes over everything, um, from how we train our dogs to what I expect from the owner, as far as not leaving the dog outside overnight, chained to a tree. um it covers a lot of bases. But yes, we do offer a 6 months to and a 1 year health guarantee.
okay?
That's pretty interesting, learning the history of the dogs that other people own that they had gotten from you. That'll help you with telling the next owner, this litter done that, this litter done this. So
Yeah.
it help you educate them.
Yeah, and I have a lot of repeat customers as well. And you know I should have taken more pictures of my daughter this past Friday, because the lady that came to visit brought one of our previous puppies that is now 3 years old. And his name is Charlie. He happened to be my daughter's favorite from that litter. And that was one of the puppies that she cried when he left. So it was really cool to get to see Charlie again after 3 years. And then also for her to pick out a brother, um, for Charlie. His half brother. So yeah, it's really cool.
That's pretty neat.
She cry, Ken?
Yeah, she definitely teared up when he came in, and he is so stinking handsome. Here, let me see if I can pull up the photo and show you right fast. But he is actually a Ruby, and then they picked out a Blenheim to be his little brother. So let's see. Here we go. Yeah, so let me see if I can get close. This is Paige, my daughter, and Eli, and then there's Charlie in the middle.
It looks
So
like it's a rock star with long hair.
yes,
They're getting
yeah, he
autographs.
has fabulous hair. We couldn't get over it. He definitely had really, really nice texture too. And that was really cool to, no ma'am. Okay. Sorry. I have kids. We have kids.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, full disclosure, Andrew's my husband. So
that's right.
we are co-owners. Um, you know, she was joking about Charlie with his hair because he actually lost all of his hair, and she said he went through like a baby orangutan phase at about 6 months old, I think she said. So, I mean,
He
that
was
was really
climbing on
interesting to
everything.
hear about. And she was showing me pictures, and I was like, well, I haven't, quite heard it described as a baby orangutan, but I
No.
guess since he's red, it makes sense. Um, but yeah, it's really cool just to be able to keep up with the puppies and see them grow. And I definitely don't breed for just numbers and how many I can sell out there. There is a method and ethical way of breeding these dogs. And I hope that anybody that would take up breeding would have a mission to your program, whether that be, you know, say, me, for example, I'm with you, Tracy. I don't like that smush face. There is nothing about the smush face that I find adorable. I don't like the little bug-eyed creep look. Um, I definitely prefer the Cavaliers that have a longer snout and a more pronounced head, with a nice snout. So in all of my dogs, I look for the more petite build with that head shape. And that's what I breed for. And I do my best to improve the breeding and to make sure that they're healthy. So, it's going to take some time if you start breeding any kind of animal to find your breeding stock, if you will, your starting line. Some of our females, Andrew and I drove to Georgia to get one. We've driven to North Carolina. We've driven to Florida. My parents actually traveled to Virginia for one of my breeding males. Um, and just they were on a whim going on a trip, and they were about an hour from the place, so it definitely helped. But it takes some time, it takes research, and I definitely would never purchase a puppy from a breeder that didn't absolutely love their breed, because it is a lot of work.
What would you say to someone who wanted to start to breed dogs or do what you're doing in their beginning and they don't know anything? What advice would you give them?
So, two things. Um, First, find a mentor. Find someone, a breeder in your area that you respect, or that you have had dealings with, that you respect, and ask for help. This is not There is no user manual for a breeder. There is no instruction booklet. And Facebook is the worst place. Any Facebook group is the worst place to get information. Go old school. Go pick up a
Yeah.
veterinarian book. Go read about the estrus cycle of females. Go read and understand the anatomy and physiology of dogs in general. A lot of people don't know that puppies are deaf and blind when they're born. And there's special care that comes along with that. And each breeder may do it differently. But, someone, hands on experience is really important in breeding. And a mentor would be number one. Number two is, a throw in of mine is, I hope that anybody that decides to breed is not grossed out by blood, spit, poo, or pee, because my goodness, it is definitely a dirty job. Um,
Oh,
you
so we
know,
should send Mike Rowe over there.
yeah, yeah, sometimes. Listen, there is a
You're cleaning the
specific
poop
smell
bin.
when a dog gives birth. There's a specific smell that is just there. Um, and you know, I anybody that has a weak stomach, It's not for weak stomach people. Um, and another thing too, like we shave down our females so that the puppies have access to the teats before they're born and things like that. But even after birth, once again, puppies are deaf and blind, so they're relying on smell and touch to find that nipple. So you really can't bathe your adult mom right after birth because the smell for the puppies to find her, along with, she just gave birth, and with, her everything being swollen back there, you don't want to get soap or anything that goes internally that could cause her to get a uterine infection or a bladder infection or anything like that. So, you definitely have to put up with some smells.
Hmm.
Now, do you, let me see, do you deliver puppies?
Typically, no. I do let some of my customers know that my husband and I travel to Clemson quite often in the fall, and we can meet them along the road. If the timing works out, and I have puppies and things like that. But I definitely don't ship puppies. Um, you know, there's just too much that can happen. They're too young. Their immune systems are just not fully developed, which is why you should definitely vaccinate your puppy. They get their first set of shots at 6 weeks with us, and then your veterinarian would do most likely 9 to 10 week old shots. Then there's 12 week, then there's 16 weeks, and you get a rabies. So they get all of these vaccinations early on because their immune system is weak. Um, you know, a young dog, a puppy, and an elderly dog, both on ends of the spectrum, their immune system is very low. So I just find it's in their best interest for people to come here and pick up their puppy. Um, it's also a lot more fun for me that way because I get to meet my customers, and I would like to think that my customers view us as somewhat Cavi family, because I really try to keep in contact with everyone. And my husband was kind enough to help me set up a email database or a online database of my customers so that I can email them out announcements and send out Christmas wishes and things like that to just keep up with everyone.
Yeah.
So the last couple guests that we've had on, we ask them some questions. A lot of times we like to hear the hairy situation, no pun intended. But we heard about some stories from Tim and Wayne, and then we heard Bert who was on, and he was talking about when the hole he was digging collapsed on him while he was underwater diving. So, do you have any strange or odd stories like that you want to share?
Um, well, I mean, I've definitely birds are the most um, intense parts of this job. Because when your dog goes into labor, everything else stops. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter who has a birthday or whatever is going on. If one of my females are giving birth, that's what I'm doing. Um, I have had a female that absolutely would not push out of puppy if I was in the room. So, thank God for modern technology, and we could just put a camera and watch her, because she would like stop panting when I come in and just look at me like, "No, I'm not having puppies." She wanted
Nothing
to do it
here.
by herself.
Nothing here to see.
But I'd say like one of the most traumatic birth that I've ever been through. I had a female that was 4 years old, and she was pregnant. Let's see, I think in that litter she had seven, so very big litter. Um, and she was so big that she really couldn't get to her hind end to get those puppies out if they sat there too long. She just couldn't reach. She had a belly on her.
Hmm.
Um, and she got her first 2 puppies out, and then labor stalled. So she started labor about 11 o'clock at night, and then labor stalled about 2 a.m. It's about 1 a.m. Yep, labor stalled. And I just waited and waited and waited and waited, and nothing was happening. And she didn't seem like she was in too much distress. But, as the hours get by, the likelihood of something being wrong, it increases. So 6 hours go by. It's 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, which means all vet offices are closed. Your only option is an emergency vet at that point, and you're talking, for a C-section, you're talking $4,000 to go in for a C-section. So it's 6 a.m. And we still don't have a puppy, and I'm starting to panic. And I I walked in and I checked on her and I looked at her, and she was panting a little bit, and I was like, "Oh boy." And I kind of had a talk with her. I was like, "Look, girl, you got to get these babies out, or it's not going to be fun." And I went out into the living room just to give her a couple minutes, and I kind of prayed, because I was like, "Man, I really don't want to put this 4-year-old through a C-section, because it's always dangerous." Um, when you're doing that, anesthesia, is the fine line between life and death. And I try to keep everything as natural as I can with all of my dogs. Um, but I walked out and I had, just prayed about it and washed my face and kind of woke up a little bit, came back in, and she had had those 2 puppies by 7:30. And so we were up to 4. And I was like, okay, there's more in there. And she finished having them about 9, 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. But I got to tell you, those 6 hours of waiting for those babies to come was very nerve wracking. And I was very thankful when they all arrived healthy and happy. And thankfully, there was none of the puppies were like stuck in the birth canal or anything. So it wasn't stillborn. But
Yeah.
because a lot of times if you get one stuck in the birth canal and it's blocking for all the other puppies, then you'll lose that puppy stuck in the birth canal, and then the other puppies will pass on as well. So that was definitely the most nerve-wracking,
Pretty scary.
scary night, late night. I definitely slept a lot that afternoon. But yeah, that was probably my most traumatic birth.
Well, I know you don't have much time. Got things to do. But I can't help to notice your background. What you got going on right there?
Well, so I love dogs and they're wonderful. But these are fish tanks. And the wonderful thing about fish is that they do not bark at all. So this is actually my office, and over here I have all of my dogs. This is basically half their room and half my room. But yeah, I do breed fish as well. Uh, just something I enjoy, and dogs breed every 6 months, so you got to have something to do in the in between. And I have about 4 strains of guppies, and guppies breed every 30 days. So it definitely gives us something to enjoy and a little bit of extra biology for my children. So
Yeah.
I also have like catfish and plecos, corridor catfish, plecos. My daughter actually bred her betta fish, and that was fun because betta fry are like the size of an eyelash um, when they're born, and we raised them up. So uh, definitely just enjoy the things that God has created for us, and the variety in the fish world along with the dog world. So
Well, Madeline, we appreciate you taking the time and educating us a little bit on the Cavalier breed and the different nuances that are associated with breeding in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really enjoy y'all's show. And if anybody is interested in breeding and needs some tips or tricks or where to get started, you're welcome to reach out to me. My website is jacksonscavaliers.com. Our email address is jacksonscavaliers@gmail.com as well if you'd rather email out. And thank you guys for listening and watching, and thank y'all for having me.
We'll have a link right here somewhere.
Or in the description.
Or in the description. Andrew edits, so I just say all that. He's got to do the hard stuff.
Also, make sure to check her out on Facebook. She posts pictures of the puppies on there. What is the Facebook page again?
Yeah, it's the profile is Jackson's Cavaliers, so I'm pretty consistent across the platforms. Make it easy.
And you noticed, thank you very much, Madeline. We appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Well, as you notice, when we started, we've got 2 separate mics, and we'll probably discuss that later. But we've been using the Blue Yeti. Is that Nano? Is that it?
Yeah, yours is the Blue Yeti Nano.
And we used them the last video for the football fails, and we came across this new one. It's a Fifine K688, and I think we like it better.
I like it, and it also gives us the option to add in the XLR setup later. And I think it sounds good, but I mean, you can let us know in the comments as you listen.
Yeah. And as always, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and don't forget to share, because sharing's caring.
That's right. And if there's anything you want us to discuss in the next video, leave it in the comments, or if you want us to do a little mini skit or something. We've done that before. What video was that?
With Albert.
Episode 3, I think.
3.
So
and if you want to be on the show, or you do something, let us know. We can discuss it. And if you have somebody who's interested, let us know. We're looking for guests that has a story to tell and that does something or has done something that's different from what most people know.
yeah, it's really good to get some information out there if someone doesn't understand something. So
I learned something every episode.
yeah, it's been really educational for me too. Well, we thank you for watching, and we will catch you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.
This has been a Bigtalk-Smallroom production.